T-Skillet coming to you from X4 Foundations. Been a quiet day here in Sagaris Pioneers territory in this equipment dock. I've been able to think and process things and not be too bothered. But today we're gonna talk about the racial differences between equipment, engines, turrets, and shields specifically. And we're gonna talk about the Commonwealth, not the Boron, because they have their own platform. They're doing their own thing. But we're talking about Commonwealth. So Argon, Split, Teladi, Paranid. Now for engines, we need to go over the different types of engines. There are 3 variations. We'll just throw up a ship here. There are 3 different types of engines. We have an all-round engine, which is a jack of all trades. It's the second longest boost speed duration and roughly 1 second delay in your travel drive spool up. It takes roughly about 1 second for that to kick in. Your combat engines are there to move you around the battlefield at a cruising speed, or as the game puts it, speed. They don't have the fastest travel time. They have some decent acceleration depending on the engine, but they are there to get you around the combat zone. They do have instant travel speed. So for your travel drive to spool up, it's instant, and they do last the longest while boosting. And then we have travel engines. Basically, its name. It's there for traveling from point A to point B. As you see here, travel speed 3,068. From point A to point B, it's there to get you the fastest. Now, to boost with the travel engine, you will drain your shields the fastest, and to engage the travel drive takes roughly around 3 seconds for the spool up. Now, to negate that, what you can do is you can actually boost through the spool up. By the time that's done, you should be at speed, and the travel drive will carry you the rest of the way. Now, for the racial differences within the engines, Argon have roughly the fastest travel speed. They will get you to point A to point B the fastest. Now, the Paranid before the expansions, before the advent of the Split and Terran, were king. They have a boost duration bonus on combat engines, and they have some of the best for budget engines in the game now with those expansions. Now, I skip over the Split. The Teladi have the slowest cruising speed or speed, but they have some of the best stopping power. The Teladi are that economic race. They care about the profits. Throw that S in there. These engines have decent travel speed. They do scale well for larger ships because mass matters, especially in calculating speed and deceleration. Split engines are the fastest at cruise speed. They get you around the battlefield the fastest. They have the slowest travel speeds, but they also have one additional engine. That would be the Combat Mark IV. At the start of a game, it's going to be from Zyarth. Now, to get the Combat Mark IV, let's take a look. To buy a Combat Mark IV engine, you are going to... That's 2 million. The ASP only costs... Well, I can't get rid of it now. The plasma only costs 259,547. That's my universe price right now. It was different before, depending on rep and things like that. To add the Combat Mark IV, that's 2 million. That's 2 million. Let's take into account some shields or, just basic weapons. Boosters. We're going to need this stuff too, right? Let's just take it all. Let's say you have it. Let's get a pilot. Let's get some flares in there. Now you're sitting at 1 million. To add the Combat Mark IV, it's an added 2 million on top of the 1 million you're already going to spend with the ship. For what? Some speed, acceleration, some bonuses here. Is it that much of a difference to overcome that price? That's really for you. Now, if this is going to be your player ship, you're going to be in it all the time, and you want the best that money can buy, sure, go ahead, get the Combat Mark IV. But you are paying that price, and it can be very steep. Now, Terran engines are a little different. Because Terran engines, it doesn't matter what we do now. Terran engines are great at boosting. Their combat engines do get a boosting bonus or boost duration bonus, but only for their combat. Their all round and their travel are the same as everybody else. And you can see this within your game. If you go and fight them, you will see them boost away. And then they'll come back and re-engage. You see this even if they're fighting the Xena, some of their katanas, their gladiuses, kukris will boost away, then re-engage. And that's what they're good for. And that was thunder. I don't know if you guys heard that, but I paused there, and a little crack of thunder. But these are the racial divides between the engines. And now turrets. Turrets. So the weapon of the turret is roughly the same, except for the kind of racial differences. And when I have to say that, what really changes is going to be rotation speed, range, and damage. Now, we're taking a look at the Argon beam. Now, Argon have the fastest rotation speed and a decent range. Most of Argon turrets, or all of the Argon turrets, really rotate the fastest and are a decent choice to be able to lock on that target at a decent range and then dispatch said target. Now, when we talk about turrets, there is one turret specifically that only 2 factions or 2 races get, and that's flak turrets. The Argon has a flak turret, medium. You can only get them with medium. And you see the projectile speed, the effective range, rotation speed, and the damage. The Split, on the other hand, also have flak turret, which should be the free families. Rate of fire, projectile speed, effective range, rotation speed, damage. Split, as the mentality, is hard hitting. Argon are all about rotation speed. The Paranid are all about range. Look at that for their plasma. 8.9. Weapon output is a little middle of the road, but you can kite your enemy through the fire. And if it's on an Odysseus, you have not only the range of the main cannons, but the turrets as well. The Split is all about damage. Its range suffers, but they typically shoot faster and hit harder. Just as the Split way of thinking. The Teladi Do we have to talk about the Teladi? I mean, typically they will fire faster, but their damage output is lower. I don't use Teladi turrets. I don't think you should use Teladi turrets. But if you find the use for them and they work for you, by all means, go ahead. But the Teladi mentality is not about fighting, it's more about survivability. And then we have the Terrans. Now, the Terrans are in a weird spot because the Terrans don't have a heavy-hitting turret like the plasma turret, or even the flak for a medium turret. They don't have that. They have a beam, the bolt, pulse, mining. They are pretty much run of the mill, depending on what you need. They don't really excel at one thing opposed to another. They're decent for rotation speed. I mean, look, the 19 degrees a second for the Teladi. That was a large. Sorry, let's go back to the medium. So 109 degrees a second. 104 degrees a second. 149 degrees a second for the medium right there. 104. 209. If you want rotation speed to get on target, it's going to be Argon, have a decent range. If you want the range, you're going to go Paranid. If you want that heavy-hitting firepower, you're going to go Split. If you want the jack of all trades, you're gonna go Terran. But if you want a light show, the split beams, Terran beams, are red and white. You can get some purple beams in there if you add the Paranid, or a little blue if you do add the Argon. Green if you want to add the Teladi. And now shields. The only Mark III variants that you can get for shields are going to be on S-class ships for almost every faction except for the Terrans. The Terrans will have the highest Mark II or Mark III for everything after S-class ships. As you saw in the S-Class video and in the M-Class video, my go-to phrase back in the day was split engines, Teladi shields. That still holds true for small ships. Teladi shields have the highest capacity. They will take the beating. Their recharge rate is okay. Their recharge delay is the slowest. Or the longest. I guess I should say the longest. The Argon shields, roughly middle of the road capacity. Their recharge rate is pretty decent. Their delay would be second to longest, I believe. The Paranid are almost the quickest. Their capacity is a little lower, but their recharge rate is better. The Split, I don't even want to talk about them. Worst shields ever. You should not, unless you are up against a wall and you have no other choice, you can have a Split shield. But if you are piloting that craft, you might do better without the shield. Who knows? Their recharge delay is the quickest. Their recharge rate is decent for what the capacity is, but that capacity is the downfall. The Terrans. Recharge delay 11.5, which is just slightly slower than the Paranid and better than the Argon. Their capacity is the second highest.
Awaiting orders.
Their recharge rate is decent. After S-class shields. If you go to medium, Mark III for the Terrans are expensive. If you have the money and want best-in-slot shields, it's the Terran Mark III. They outclass the Teladi Mark II by capacity. And not only for medium, but for large as well, with their Mark III. And then for extra large with their Mark II. If you want to put Mark I's head to head, Teladi will still have higher capacity. Those racial differences of recharge rates do come into factor here as well. Now, large and extra large shields do not have a recharge delay. That's only for small and medium shield types. Once you hit large, no delay. And that's why your large miners fare a lot better against the little pyramid boys that come in with their Kion lasers and bzz, bzz. Shields. Now, to recap some of these differences, we're going to use the Sin. Now, for engines, if you want travel speed, it is the Argon. If you want a decent all-rounder, then you can go the Paranid. If you want cruising speed, it would be the Split. And if you want to be able to boost around the battlefield, it would be the Terrans. In terms of shields, on a comparison, as the Sin goes, just like we learned, the Terran Mark III would be the shield. However, if you do not have the money, the Teladi Mark II does beat out the Terran Mark II. That's 48,597 as a capacity with 247 recharge rate, a decent recharge rate. Teladi is at 50,911 for capacity and a recharge rate of 257. It's like 10 different. If you want a little bit of a faster recharge rate, you're going to go for the Paranid. And you can mix and match these shield generators in some of these other craft that do have multiple. If you cannot afford Terran Mark IIIs, or if you're not friendly enough with the Terran. You can also use the in-game mods once you have them researched to change some of the stats. Speed, acceleration, boost, travel, recharge rate, recharge delay, and capacity. You have the ability to change stats slightly as well. When it comes to turrets, if you want rotation speed, you're going to go Argon. If you want range, you're going to go Paranid. If you want pure damage and raw power, you're going to go Split at the expense of range. Your rotation speed is roughly second best, but your range suffers. If you don't care about damage or range and you just want to put shots on target, then you're looking at the Teladi. With enough turrets, you can take down any target. Beam turrets will tell you that. And if you want a good all-round turret, then you have the Terrans. It's a good all-around suppressing turret. You can't really go wrong with those. But this is going to be Skillet signing out for now. I'll see you guys again. Have a wonderful day, evening, night, morning, whenever you watch that. One of that was redundant. We'll get to that later. I'll catch you guys again.